Team racing, the future of the Forza RC. That's the concept we'll be working with from now on, and I, Racers, am stoked to be bringing you the action from a driver's perspective throughout this brand new season. Running over a course of 7 full-on weeks of online competition, and Atlanta to top it all off, a lot is going to be going on, and I think everyone is curious to see how the year pans out, especially the lineup of the 13 pre-selected teams. From the professionals to the community teams, there is a wide range of experience in this department, but regardless, the idea of team racing itself looks to evolve Forza Esports in a really positive direction. To try and back up what I'm saying here, I'd like to share with you some exclusive footage of some of the practice that has been going on behind the scenes, preparing for the season proper in 2 weeks' time. Lazarus, Williams, FRF and Rise Motorsport all got together recently to practice a team style of racing with each other, and this race in particular was an absolute cracker. Now, to put my money where my mouth is, I'm now here to show you the footage, obviously, and I've got a new style to be talking you through what's going on, and it's very simply I'm going to watch it back with you, so we can have a look. I'll be drawing on the screen any notable areas to look at, but I really want to give you the technical insight to driving at this level. Okay, so before this race, we did a quick qualifying session, and basically we just take the fastest times of each team and then average them out to work out who was best or whatever. To be honest, we're all guessing as we go. But basically, Lazarus had pole, Williams second, Rise third, FRF fourth, okay? And then we scatter the drivers through the grid. So if we have a look here, you can see I'm on pole, then it's Force One down here, and Ross all the way down there. But that was the top form of scatter, if you like, through the grid. And yeah, so that's roughly how we're going to be doing the grids in our practice sessions so far. Please note that all the rules I say, they're not rules that are necessarily going to be used in competition. They're just simply rules that we think are going to best represent, our practice, basically. But for this race, though, if you have a look at Mitch here, in that Mustang, and then you've got Force One just down there, and basically this race is going to consist of me and the Camaro trying to hold up the faster Mustangs, which are the fastest cars on track at the moment. This is one of the beauties of team racing, with the potential to drive different cars. It comes up with some very exciting strategy indeed as we come into turn 1 of the Nürburgring GP circuit. Mitch in P2, me in P1. This is going to be an exciting race, and honestly it really does show off very nicely the sort of dynamics that you can get in this whole team setting, if you like. There's Mitch very, very close to my rear already, and basically what I'm thinking at the moment is, with Mitch so close behind and Force One also showing great pace, I know that this car doesn't have quite the edge of pace as Mitch and Dan would have in their cars, and so I'm just going to try and hold Mitch up as much as possible, get Force One up with us, and then hopefully release Force One off while still holding Mitch, if that makes sense. And this is all a very common strategy that we'll probably end up seeing this year, to be honest, but it's something that we would have never have seen beforehand on the old style of racing. Coming up on the back straight though, this car shows really good straight line speed. This is one of the things I was going to use in my advantage, basically, because I know that if I can keep ahead and get onto a straight, the acceleration will mean that I can keep ahead without a doubt on any straights. As we made a big hash of that chicane, it has to be said. With race regs as well, that's another thing that we need to touch upon. The corner cutting system that Forza now uses. It's going to be interesting to see how how we can manage that in a tournament setting like the Forza RC. But yeah, so one lap done, onto lap 2 now. Mitch still behind, and you can actually see as I get the braking so bad in there. I was just completely guessing the braking point. Again, we didn't practice beforehand, so this is all just going off of muscle memory more than anything. It's like then trying to slow down Mitch, just park it, just put it in an annoying place for him. It's perfectly legal though to defend like that. So then just slow it right down on the apex. Mitch actually does find a little bit of a gap there that he tries to open up, but I don't mind because I know I've got the straight line speed, as now we have Force One right behind us. Mission accomplished as far as I'm concerned. So he's now alongside us, and Mitch just, well, he just sent it really, didn't he? Let's be honest. But, you know, again, it's practice. This is all part of it, testing the limits, and it was good fun regardless, as there's a proximity arrow there flying past, and now all of a sudden my man Force 1 is in P2, meaning that we now have a Lazarus 1-2 in this practice lobby, as we then are attacked by our teammate, but we will happily yield that position, let him up into P1, because now I'm in between Force 1 and Mitch, so all Force 1 now needs to do is just drive away and let me hold up Mitch, really. We'll see how that goes. As right on cue, Mitch just sends it again. It's quite a savage move there. I feel quite violated, I must admit. But again, practice lobby. It was fair, I guess, maybe. I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest. Like, we now have this situation to deal with. Mitch up ahead. Force 1 in the lead. Lap 3 of 6. We've got Tesla behind in another Camaro, actually. And then I know that Williams 7 is shortly behind him in another Camaro. But still, so far, though, it's looking really good for Lazarus. You know, P1, P3, and Ross, I believe, is down in P6. So on average, we are doing the best of all the teams at the moment, as we are now thinking about our braking zone, not cutting this chicane. I've said it before, I believe. Cutting this is so easy, and it gives you such a massive penalty. As we get it actually pretty nice, a bit squirmy on exit. We did it better than Mitch, though, and we're now right behind him. So we've got on the brakes for the final corner. Coming on to lap 4 already. The laps are ticking down, just like that. And so we now get a bit of a run on Mitch. What you're about to see is Peggy 18, I must admit. So coming onto the brakes, braking very firm, very late. And yeah, poor Dan, Force 1, did get tagged. Technically, that was Mitch's fault, but to be fair, like, if I wasn't going for that move, I'm not sure that would have happened. So it's an interesting one, as they're getting really argy-bargy going around here. And look at this. This is another thing. Force 1 being very getting his elbows out for Mitch, pushing him actually, I think, slightly off the track. But again, this is a practice lobby. There's no harm in doing that while we're practicing for the season proper. But it's quite interesting to see how race regs will find their way in our competitions. You know, will just pushing cars off the track to get them penalties become a regular thing? As we get on the brakes, once again, Mitch and Force 1 slightly pulling a gap over us. We've got 7 really close behind as well now, actually. So 7's had a good lap to get up behind. But, you know, we're driving consistently, only 5 thousandths of a second down, which is good, as we are now coming up back again into that chicane. We're still looking at Force 1 and Mitch, managing that gap. But bear in mind, they've actually both got penalties. And seeing as they're only half a second up the road, as they're going side by side into the final corner, we are actually technically in the lead, because of the fact that they are both being penalised at the moment. So that's another thing, you know, penalties. We talk about forcing people to get penalties, but just natural corner cutting penalties, if race regs are introduced, are going to definitely be a big contributing factor. As once again, those two in the Mustangs properly going at it. You can see that there's pride on the line in that battle, isn't there? Like, it's very, very close, as we're now kind of mirroring each other. Lazarus versus Williams. Two different cars, as Mitch does push Dan slightly out. And that's quite a savage bit of driving, but, you know, Nothing new, is it? Let's be honest. As we now have Force One right on our rear. Again, I'm now thinking, how can I let Force One through? What's the best way to let him through without losing us both time? Because Mitch has a penalty at the end of the day, so we are safe here. But if we were to lose time fighting, he could pull away. And equally, if I let Force One through in a really stupid way, we're both going to lose time as well. So I'm staying ahead for now. I actually moved to the right here, as if to say, go up the inside if you need, but he was a bit far away, so I committed to the corner. But during this time, though, if you look ahead, Mitch actually didn't have the best of time in this sector, really. We did gain on him, as you can see by the delta at the bottom left, which was excellent news, obviously. As we come up to the chicane for the penultimate time on lap 5 of 6, on the brakes into second gear, not cutting, and we did it really well. We picked out our braking point perfectly, actually, and we're now right on the back of Mitch, which is excellent. And all I could think about coming through this final corner is how late I could brake to dive bomb Mitch coming into turn 1, because I knew that I'd have the power on him. I know that my brakes aren't that good, but I could probably scare him, but I didn't want to do anything too rash, so I try the switcheroo, good old Danny Rick style, and it does, to be fair. I don't get the position, but I definitely caused Mitch to react in a less than ideal way, allowing Force One back into it as we go side by side. I'm going to yield here. I'm going to let him through around the outside, because this is quite an ideal position for Dan. I keep on calling him Dan. I admit you may not know who Dan is. If I say Dan, it's Force One. But letting Force One through, and he is now able to reel in Mitch in that car. It's more suitable. As soon as Mitch gets into his rhythm and stops mucking out the last sector, like, this car doesn't really have a hope. Because at the end of the day, like, Williams are quick. Like, they're Williams, for goodness sake, And so for us to be in this position up against them, it's looking good. Let's put it that way. Like, I'm excited for the season to kick off. I think Lazarus, I think we're in for a good chance. S7 just goes F1 2013 style, if you get the reference. Absolutely yeets it over that hill. He gets disqualified in the process. Again, showing the slightly more relaxed side of this lobby, like the driving standards in places. But as we come up to the line on lap 6, that is P1 actually for me, given their penalties, ignoring the fact that it says that I came 3rd. And as we will see, P1, good old racers up at the top. That's where I like to be. And yeah, what a race. Really, really good fun. And I hope you enjoyed having a quick look into the style of what this racing is going to be all about. And I look forward to sharing more with you over the next 10 weeks or so. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time for probably a real FRC race. But until then,